Yeah! I'll bet you didn't expect me to start this episode by striking a chord. Well, hello world, and welcome back to the Dweebatron channel. This will be the first episode of 2019. Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. And I want to talk a little bit about Sunbeam toasters and one of my favorite patterns called King's Crown. With Christmas being last month, I sold a lot of small things, and I don't want to go over every single one of them, but I will give you some highlights. Are you ready? All right. I picked up these two water goblets at a local thrift store. The pattern is Prayer Rug by Adams Glass, produced about 1881. I had never found this pattern before, but I recognized it immediately by the goofy motif featuring a prayer rug right in the middle. My favorite part, though, is the weird little belt going around the bottom. What's that about? Anyway, I paid $2.99 each for these for a cost of $5.98, and I sold them for $40. Here's another cool piece I found recently in a local thrift store. This was made by Fostoria Glass in their heirloom pattern. This color was called Bittersweet Orange, or maybe just Bittersweet. Anyway, it was only produced between 1960 and 1962. I picked up this bowl for $9.99, and I sold it for $50. Toasters have always been a very collectible item. In fact, I even have a book on toasters. When I first started selling appliances, that white and blue toaster you see on the cover there was selling for $5,000 to $10,000. Sadly, the market for antique toasters today is but a shadow of its former self. You can still get a few bucks for some cool old toasters if you find them. For example, this Toastolator, one of my favorite models of old toasters. I've never found one at a price I wanted to pay, but it has a really cool concept. You put the toast in one side, and it moves along a conveyor belt and comes out the other side. While it's toasting, you can watch it through that little window. Pretty cool, huh? And look at this weird triplex toaster. I don't even know how that works. Or this thing. I think you just set the toast on top of this and it heats it up from the inside. There are reasons that many of these old designs did not become the mainstream. Even the sandwich press style toasters can be collectible. This All-Right Hostess sandwich press sold for over $1,300. But today we're going to talk about Sunbeam toasters. I'm not sure what the very first Sunbeam toaster that ever came out was, but the oldest one I've ever had was the number 4, like this one here that someone else sold. It had a pretty cool design. That rack on the top held the toast inside, and when you got done toasting one side, you could rotate a little knob and it would flip the toast over and toast the other side. Fast forward to 1939. The World's Fair was held in New York that year and featured a large sphere and tall pyramid as part of the World of Tomorrow exhibit, which became an iconic image as shown here on a promotional poster. Why am I telling you all this? Because 1939 was also the year that Sunbeam introduced possibly the most famous vintage toaster of all time, the Model T9. Do you see it? The World of Tomorrow design was incorporated into the design of the toaster. This toaster was so popular that every single sitcom ever filmed is required to use this toaster. Okay, that might not be an actual rule, but if you watch for toasters in movies and TV, you will see a disproportionate number of people who own one of these T9s. In 1949, however, Sunbeam outdid themselves. They introduced the T20. The T20 still had the World of Tomorrow logo on it, but the toaster became a more standard rectangular shape. More noticeably, the toast slots turned sideways and got larger. But the coolest feature was that you could set your toast into the slot and it would gently lower it down inside. No buttons or levers required. Sunbeam advertised it as automatic beyond belief. When your bread was finished toasting, it would slowly rise back up in a much less aggressive manner than a modern toaster with all the popping and banging noises. This model proved so successful that various different versions of this toaster were produced clear into the 1990s. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because pretty much every single one of those toasters still probably works and will sell well on the secondary market. Some have the darkness adjuster on the side, such as this Model T48 that someone recently sold. There were so many different models like this produced that it's not too hard to find them. I picked up this Model T20B in a Goodwill bin store. For some reason in 1954 and 1955, Sunbeam started dating some of their appliances. This practice didn't last, but this toaster had a date stamp inside of February 2nd, 1955. Pretty cool, huh? Because this was a bin store purchase, I purchased it by weight, which cost me $4.02. I sold it fairly quickly for $68.75. So keep an eye out for those older toasters, but the ones you are most likely to find that you can easily make money on are the Sunbeam toasters. King's Crown. Where do I even start? Well, let's start back in 1891. In 1891, Adams Glass came out with a pattern that they called Ixelcler. Okay, they probably didn't mean for it to be pronounced that way. If you just say the letters, it becomes Excelsior, or you can change it up just a wee bit and it becomes Excelsior. Excelsior is characterized by a little row of sawtooth encircling round thumbprints. I have bought and sold almost every piece in this pattern and in every color, but here is a piece I've never seen before, a large-footed punch bowl. Someone sold this one for over $1,000 with the shipping. I need to find one of those. I recently found these 2 cup and saucer sets at a local thrift store and paid $2.99 each, or $5.98 for the pair, and they sold for $72.67. Adams produced Excelsior in a number of different finish treatments, but the most common ones that you will find out there are the plain clear pieces and the ruby stained pieces. In the 1940s, Tiffin Glass started producing this pattern and started calling it King's Crown. They did many different colors of stained pieces as well, such as these blue stained plates someone sold recently, as well as regular plain pieces, and they produced this pattern for many years. Somewhere along the way, Indiana Glass started making King's Crown as well, and Indiana Glass made it in dozens of different colors and finish treatments. Collectors will buy pretty much any of it, but the original Excelsior pieces sell the best. King's Crown is another one of those patterns that I would wager you could find at least one piece of it in pretty much any thrift store in America. It's all over the place, so keep an eye out for it. That's going to do it for episode 12. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this program, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. In fact, even if you hated it, I would love it if you subscribed to my channel. Until next time, take good care of each other, and I'll see you then.